more behind the scenes.
Yep, so we are on our way to go shoot with Maki, and Bob is running video, so this is going to be awesome. This is a technique that I've never seen anybody do, so I'm looking forward to showing you guys some crazy idea that I came up with, and hopefully you guys like that. So we're on our way.
Say hi, Mike.
All right, so I'm gonna go back, park the car,
okay,
and then this is where we're gonna set up.
Just inside there, right?
Yeah, she's gonna be like right where that bird is at. So maybe we can befriend the bird and it'll land on her hand or something. Hey, little birdie.
All right.
See, he's coming right to her. He's like, you're beautiful. So I'll start explaining when I get back. So.
All right.
Hey everybody, welcome to Tokyo, Japan. I'm Chris Bergstrom. This is Maki, the model today, and we got Bob running video. So today I'm going to show you guys how to combine my two most favorite things to photograph, which is portraits, and we're going to have a beautiful model for that. We're going to be using lighting, and also the background is going to be shot in infrared. So one of the things you're going to need straight off is an R72 infrared filter, and as you can see, you cannot see through this thing. It's like pretty much pitch black.
Yep.
So when I set it up, this is going to only allow the infrared spectrum to get into the camera sensor. Now what you need to do is go on the internet, if you don't have one of these, and see if your camera can actually see infrared light, because some camera manufacturers, more so in the past, but they're starting to take away the filter that blocks the infrared light. So what you need to do is just go on Google, see if it'll work with your camera, and then if you got one laying around, you could also just test it out. If you're able to see through the camera, then it'll work. So let's check out the setup. All right, so one of the first things you need to do is, if you have a UV filter on your camera, is take it off. So I've already done that. Now it's just the bare lens, which in a second I'm going to go ahead and put the UV filter on here. But what you need to do is go into your white balance, go to custom white balance, and then it's looking for you to take a picture. Take a picture of something that's green, because we want these green leaves to turn white and look like snow. So I'm going to take a photo, I'm going to turn it to manual focus, so that way it just gets the color of the green. And now it has set the white balance as green. Now when I go to, okay, I'm going to click OK to set, and when I go to my custom profile and I set it to black and white, you can kind of see already that everything looks, all the green has now turned to like a white shade. So I'm going to click OK. So this is part of the first step. So it's really a 3-step process for getting the shot ready, and I'll explain it to you right now, so that way you can watch and follow along. First thing, set up the camera, get the infrared filter on there, which I'm about to screw on in a second. Set a custom white balance to something that's green, so that we can turn all of this foliage in these woods to white. Then the next process is to take a shot, framing everything on a tripod so that your camera doesn't move shot to shot. Once you get the shot looking the way that you want, then you're going to turn it off custom white balance, go back to like a daylight white balance, take a shot without your model in there. So now you have a reference shot with just the infrared, which is all the foliage is going to turn white. Then you're going to have a shot with just everything looking normal. Then you bring your model in with your strobe, and that'll allow you to make amazing looking light. And then you're going to go into Photoshop and composite the 3 images together. So check this out. All right. So now with an R72 filter, it's very dark, and you can see right now how crazy that looks. Right? Everything that's supposed to be green is now white. I'm going to turn it back to autofocus. Focus on the background. So this is going to be our background, and my vision already is I'm going to turn this trail into normal ground color, like brown, and then the model will be in the middle of that, looking like normal color. So one of the freaky things that will happen is if you shoot infrared at somebody's face, their eyeballs look like alien eyes. So you're gonna have like really dark black, almost like black olives in their eyes, and it looks freaky, almost like they're possessed. So that's one thing that you got to be careful of, is if you do use infrared and just infrared portraits only, your strobe isn't going to do a whole lot because it's not infrared light. What you would have to do is have the model looking away from the camera so that you don't see the pupils of the eyes, because it really looks scary. All right. So I'm set up on a tripod, which I want to make sure my shot isn't going to move from shot to shot. And then I'm going to look at my framing and figure out the way I want it to look. And because I already know the model is going to be facing toward the right for the first shot, I'm just cutting out the edge of that strobe that's going to be there for a backlight. Now, some of the equipment that we're using, I'm shooting with the FujiFilm X-T2 with the X1TF trigger from Godox for Fujifilm, and I'm going to set up a 60-inch Fotodiox Octabox, and let's go take a look at that. I'm going to get it set up now. Alright, so this thing is a beast. One of my other favorite modifiers is the 50-inch Westcott Apollo, the big square 50-inch softbox, and it really replicates window light really well. But for this creates more of a round catch light. It's got an inner baffle, which softens the light a little bit more because now it has to go through two pieces of diffusion. And you can also get a grid, which I didn't need for outside. But if you're shooting with this in the studio, the grid spot really helps to control where your light is going to fall. Alright, so you can see this thing is gigantic. And of course, it's hard to do by yourself, but turn it clockwise and it should lock. Alright, so the model is going to be standing right over there in the center of the trail. And then I'm going to side light her with this light right about here. And of course, I will raise it up once it's time to start shooting, but I do want to get some extra weight on this. Just because it's such a large modifier, I don't want it to blow over. So I'll have my camera bag just to give it a little extra beefiness. And this is a 13-foot light stand made by the company Impact. Although they're pretty affordable, it's actually a really good light stand. With this wide of a footprint, I don't have to worry so much about my strobe tipping over. If I need to, I can always bring out sandbags. Alright, so let's get the first shot with the infrared and we'll see how it looks. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my focus point down to where I'm going to have the subject, which is right about in that area. So I'm already thinking about the rule of thirds. I'm going to have her framed up in this shot, so this tree is creating a frame. And then the light is going to be coming from over here up high, and then we'll have a rim light from this side. So that's the shot already in my head. I'm going to keep the tripod set up so that in between shots I don't have to change anything. So I'm going to pre-focus here, focused, then I'm going to set it to manual focus, and you can see already where it's giving us the focus areas. I'm shooting at f1.4 and my shutter speed is 7.5 or 1/75 of a second. 7.5 of a second. So I'm going to go into my quick menu for Fuji and I'm going to turn on the shutter countdown timer so that I don't have to worry about camera shake. I'm going to take the first photo and I'm just going to do a quick review, make sure it looks good, and I'm gonna check my highlights, making sure that I'm not blowing out anything on the right there, and that looks good. All right, so I'm gonna take a backup shot with the aperture closed down to like f8. Now this shutter is gonna be 3.7 seconds long. So I'm gonna go ahead and click fire. And when you're shooting with a longer shutter speed like that, you may have, if it's a windy day, you may have the trees start to blur in the background. I'm really going for this longer shutter speed so I can get more depth of field, so that those trees in the background really look like a snowy forest. That's the kind of look I'm going for. All right, so now I'm going to turn the camera off, take off the filter, and set my white balance back to normal. Now I'm going to set the camera to standard white balance. You can see right now, this is what it looks like with no UV filter on it. It's black and white, of course. But if I go to, I like Astia or Classic Chrome. I'm going to shoot this in Classic Chrome. It's not going to matter because I'm actually shooting in RAW. But I'm going to switch my white balance to 5600 Kelvin, which is about the white balance of the Godox 8600 strobe. And I'm just going to make sure I'm still in focus, which it's not. So let me turn it back to auto, focus on that same spot. And now I've set it to manual focus so it doesn't hunt around. So now it's just a matter of setting up the shot for the second of the shots. This is going to make sure that when I shoot with the model with the strobe, that everything is good to go. All right, so I'm gonna switch back to ISO 200, take a couple shots, and now I'm on full manual. I'm gonna go to switch my camera to preview manual exposure, and now I'm just dialing in where I want this ground to go, and I'm going to fine tune it. So it's saying at f8 I'm at 15th of a second. I'm going to go down to somewhere around 13th of a second, maybe 10th of a second. Looks pretty good. So if I turn this back off of manual focus, I can actually see what the ground looks like. I just want to make sure I'm not blowing out too many of the highlights. All of the stuff in the background I'm not too worried about because it's all going to be infrared anyway. So now we're ready. I'm going to take one more shot. I'm ready for the strobes. So I'm going to turn on my Godox X1 trigger. I'm going to check my power settings. I think I need to be at around quarter power, and on the background light, all right, let's see here. On the background light, I'm going to go to, let's push it up to full power because I'll use my light meter to figure out what the exposure is. All right, so I'm using the awesome hold fast setup. I don't have my camera attached because obviously it's on the tripod, but I do have my light meter here. This allows me to keep it. Sometimes I have a pouch attached to my belt and it's always there. I don't have to worry about dropping it. It's not going to get lost in the shuffle. So my camera currently is set to 10th of a second, so I'm going to set my light meter to 1/10 of a second, and I'm going to take a meter reading and see what it's telling me my aperture is at this flash power. So hopefully Godox comes out with a module like Pocket Wizard has for these light meters so that I can trigger it from the meter. Right now I have to carry this or keep my camera on me and hit the test button. So I'm going to test this. Okay. All right, so it's saying 5.6. I'm actually at f8 on that camera, so I need to go up by one stop on the main light. 1, 2, 3. So 3 clicks equals a stop. So now I'm at half power. Try it again. If my math is correct, it should meter at exactly f8. And that's f5. So f7 to f5. I'll just change my camera down to f7 and we'll take a shot. So what I want you to do is, as the model, is you're going to face this light here. And then I want you to do some kind of different posing where you're on your back foot, you kind of put your hand up towards your head, kind of just very delicate is what I'm looking for, kind of fashion and delicate looking. So of course we gotta wait for the guy on the stroller to get out of the shot, but
Started.
so at this point we're standing by, ready to take the shot. We're waiting for a dad with his daughter with a stroller to get out of our shot. They're down the ways there. So as soon as they get out of there, we'll go ahead and take the shot. I am switching back to autofocus because I want to make sure that her eye is completely in focus. All right, Maki, go ahead and come forward a little bit. I want to get you framed up just right. Keep coming. I might move my light again too. Remeter. Keep coming. I want you to be just the right size. Go to the left or your right there. And now, not so far. Just back just a little bit right there. All right, so what I'm always looking for is making sure that her head isn't intersecting with one of these branches. So that looks pretty good. I'm gonna move my light and I'm gonna remeter because I didn't take into account where she needed to be in the shot. So I'm gonna switch it, just refocus on her face. I can always check the focus.
There, now it's in focus.
All right, so that's what we're looking at just for the initial framing. And again, it's going to be kind of a dream scene with this whole background being completely white. So let's take a test shot, make sure that our actual meter is metering the exposure properly on Maki. And that looks good. I'm going to go ahead and speed up my shutter speed. I want more of a dramatic background. All right, that looks pretty good. I can see right now. All right, so I can see that the ambient light is getting darker. There's clouds going in between the sun. So I'm just messing with my shutter speed, playing around. I'm going down to about 1/20th of a second. 3, 2, 1. And I usually count down for my models so that they don't blink. Now go ahead and face the camera. Not straight on, maybe at a 45-degree angle. There you go. And just take your back foot like that. So all your weight is on your back foot. And your front foot maybe up on tippy toe, like this. If you can go like that, actually, yeah, just like that. And now put your let's take the purse out of your hand. And then what I want is your hands up near your face, very soft and delicate. All right. 3, 2, 1. Good. Couple more. 3, 2, 1. And we don't know which shot at this point we're going to use for the final image. And some of these can just stand on their own, just the way they are. That's the beauty of shooting like this. 3, 2, 1. All right. So now I'm going to bring in the Japanese casa, or umbrella. I want it on this side of you. There you go. And when you put it up on your shoulder, just make sure it's not bunched up against your hair, so push it back just a little bit, up a little higher. There you go, right there. And one of the things that you can do is not just holding it, but after a couple of shots where we get it where you're just holding it, you could take your other hand and just be very soft and let go of the umbrella. All right, here we go. In 3, 2, 1. That looks awesome. 3, 2, 1. I'm going to slow my shutter speed down just a touch, 25th of a second. Just bringing in a little bit more of that ambient light.
So what power do you have the main light at?
All right, so the main light's at half power and a third, because it's in that giant softbox. It's eating up a lot of the power, and it's also a good 10 feet away from the model. And the background light is also about 10 feet away, and it is a 8200, so it's got like, you know, a third of the power that an 8600 has. 3, 2, 1. Now go ahead and look off like in the distance, like you're dreaming. Now look over this way more. There you go. And give a little bit of a head tilt more, like very other way, this way. Yeah. and you're just going to have a very serious face. Turn your face back towards me just a little bit, and you're going to be looking up towards here. Good. Just changing your look, looking away, looking down, look back this way, over your shoulder. Like turn your face that way. Turn your face more. Right there. One more. 3, 2, 1, good. That looks really good. And just open the mouth just slightly, and just give me kind of a look like you're looking down, but your chin is up. So you're looking like that. There we go. That's good. And now just push your chin out a little bit. There. Good. So what I always want to make sure is that the eyes don't have too much white in the eyes, because if somebody, you can relax. So if somebody is looking, go ahead and just show her face. Look all the way over here. See, that's too much whites in the eyes. So I want to bring her eyes back to right about there. And that will look the best. So stay right there, hold that. Fun now. We're shooting in the same spot, kind of in the same direction. We've come in closer. I've changed to the Kamlan. It's basically a 75mm f1.1 lens. Currently have it set to f2.8. And I'm going to show you what you can do with high-speed sync in a situation like this. We're out in the middle of the woods. We do have some sunlight. It's kind of an overcast day, so it's not super bright in here. But I could turn this into a studio where she is basically completely in the darkness. So I'm going to go up to 8,000th of a second. And of course, I'm shooting in manual focus because that's what this lens is. So I'm going to put the focus point over her face. And then I'm going to zoom in to check my focus. There you go. So I'm trying to make sure that the eyes are really sharp. There we go. 3, 2, 1. I'm going to open my aperture just a little bit down to like f1.4. Checking sharpness again in the eyes. 3, 2, 1. Alright, so just to show you what you can do, you could turn this forest into like really a studio. Completely black. No detail in the background whatsoever.
Wait, what was your setting again?
I'm at 8,000th of a second at roughly 1.8. There's no aperture clicks on this lens, so I'm somewhere in the range of 1.8 to 1.6.
Okay.
And now I'm going to slow my shutter speed way down so I can actually see the ambient light in the shot. 3, 2, 1. That's some nice bokeh. She looks in focus. I'm just going to pull back, see how it looks with a full-length shot.
Hold on, let me get on the other side.
And because I'm shooting at such a wide aperture, I can lower the power of the flash, which gives me a super fast recycle time. And always, always, always look at what is intersecting with your subject's head, because you don't want it to look like there's stuff growing out of their head. Maybe your hand up to your head. So I want it to feel comfortable, so it should be like this, if possible. And then take your arms out, like I want to see the bottom of your yukata. Sorry, keep your arms in the sleeves, but so I can see the part hanging down. There you go.
Yeah, I think you just watch this thing just down. Yeah, like that.
And then chin up just a little bit. There you go. And now put your other arm out, the one that's closest to me, put it towards the side, like sideways. There you go. Almost like you're reaching up towards something. So other hand.
Left
Behind
hand,
you.
left
So
hand,
you'll
left
be
hand.
reaching like this. Behind you.
Left hand, your left hand, left hand.
Yeah. And just reaching like there's an apple or something right there. Again. 3, 2, 1. Checking focus. Stand by. Green. 3, 2, 1. Good. Chin down just a little bit and forward. So right now your chin is kind of back. I want your chin out and turn your face a little bit this way. There you go. Good. And eyes to camera. Very serious. And turn your body towards the camera. More at an angle. There you go. I don't want to get you caught the dirty either. Alright, checking focus. And then I'm going to get like a headshot. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Good. Alright, now looking off in towards this light here. And just keep your hand up there on your shoulder, like right in front. Here, in front. There you go. 3, 2, 1. And really stretch your face towards the light. Good. And eyes to camera. Very, again, relax the mouth. Just almost like your slightly open mouth. There you go. Good. Good. 3, 2, 1. And now last shot I want to do. I wish I had a stool out here. I'm going to have you crouch back down, but you're going to be turning facing this way. So you'll be like this. And then I want you to look back up at the camera. So you'll be facing this way. Right here. You're going to look back at the camera. I'm going to be here, shooting this way. You're going to look back up over your shoulder. And your hands can be here with whatever. You can bring your hands up. Whatever feels comfortable, but right facing that way. All right, looking back towards camera.
You're blocking your own light though.
That's fine. It's big enough.
All right.
And I always want the eye that's closest to the camera to be the one in focus. 3, 2, 1. Good. 3, 2, 1. Double checking focus. All right, tilt your head up a little bit higher. So you'll be really looking up this way with your face. There you go. Good. All right, so I'm checking focus. Good. I'm going to slow my shutter speed down so I can bring in some of that background. This ambient's going to be a problem. The sun is just coming through. 3, 2, 1. Good. Chin up just a little bit more. There you go. And now do the head tilt and chin back. I'm sorry, this way. Your chin this way. And tilt your head. Chin. So tilt and then like this. So it may be hard to do, so turn your body if you need to. Good. And just looking up. There you go. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Try to shoot way up. Now looking straight up. And chin up. And relax your mouth again, kind of slightly, so I can see your teeth. Good. 3, 2, 1. Back out just a touch. All right, relax. And stand back up. All right, guys, ladies, we are going to look at how I did this photo. So we have an infrared photo mixed with a strobist photo and also combined with a photo that was taken with just ambient natural light. So there's a 3-step process, taking 3 different shots, and then you got to bring them into Photoshop and combine them. So what I usually do is for this infrared shot, I'm going to use my white balance picker. And I'm going to choose something that was green foliage. Somewhere up in here. All right, and then I'm going to crank up the exposure just a touch, just to really give it that vivid look. And I'm going to select all open images. And I need the image with just her with the strobist shot. All right, so there we go. All right, so I'm going to drag these both into the infrared shot. This is the final image. Let me move that over. All right, so Command A, Command C, infrared. Okay. There we go. I want to copy this one over. All right, so now I'm back into this image. I got my infrared layer on the bottom. I've got, which is the one I need to work on first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into image. Let's see here. Adjustments, channel mixer. I'm going to take the red channel, go to 0, and bump the blues up to 100. Take the blue channel, go to 100, and then 0. So basically I'm swapping the red and the blue channel. And then I'm going to adjust this to taste to where I think it looks good. I actually want to introduce more yellow into the scene, and you'll see why here in a second. So I'm going to go down here now. I'm still on the infrared layer. I'm going to go to hue saturation adjustment layer. I'm going to choose my yellows. I'm going to turn the saturation down. Then the next thing I will do is go into a curves adjustment layer, make a basic S curve, and I'm going to pump up the brightness of this background and something like that. All right, so right here, if I turn this off and on, see the ground is kind of a weird color down here. So if I open up this hue saturation adjustment layer, it looks like it's a green. I could take out some of that green color, or instead of taking it out, I could actually change the color back to something that looks more like the earth. I'm gonna leave it right there. Take the saturation down just a touch. Right about like that. All right, so that's the infrared layer. It's pretty much done right there. Now I'm going to go to the next layer, which is our untouched layer in between. I'm going to add a layer mask to that photo, and then I'm going to click on the actual image down here, and I'm going to click select color range, and I want to select like these browns. So I'm going to click in here, change the fuzziness to about 90, and select OK. And now, so all of the browns and the dark colors are actually the things that are showing right now. I want to invert that selection. So I'm going to click select, invert. And now I'm going to use a brush set to black, very big brush because I want to do this quickly. And I'm just going to start painting. Oh, undo that. Need to be on the layer mask when you paint. All right, here we go. All right, that is it. I just painted over everything. Now I'm going to hit Command D. Now you get this sort of surreal. Oh, you know what? Let me undo that. So I had my brush opacity set to 50% or 49%. So I'm going to redo that. Go over everything at 100%. Now when I hit Command D, now you see how it looks pretty much like snow fell down all over everything. Then I need to go to my model, and you can see there's people back here. My goal is to basically mask out the ground and her. So you could use the pen tool, you could just use a brush. It's a lot of time to do it by hand, but that is how I did it. So I'm going to hit brush, and I'm on a black brush right now at 100%, and I'm using a very soft brush. So I'm just going to click through here very softly. The closer you get to your subject, the smaller you're going to want to make the brush. so that it doesn't bleed opacity onto the hair or the skin. And this is just a quick cutout of her. I'm not trying to be super perfect. All right, so now that I've kind of gone around her, I can be a little bit more haphazard around these edges. So when I thought of this, I was like, you know, just sitting in my studio going, what could I do that's fun, different, and combines stuff that I like to do already, which is shooting infrared and doing strobist photography with, you know, lighting outdoors and that kind of thing. So I said, well, why not just combine them together? And so that's what we did here. So I'm just doing this really quickly just so you can kind of get an idea of what it will look like. So we still have some color detail left in the bark of the trees. And what I can do to accentuate that if I want to. So now I'm going to show you, I'm going to zoom in and show you how I did this by hand. The pen tool would be ideal, but because I didn't feel like dealing with the pen tool, I just painted by hand. Now you want to make the brush kind of small, because if it's too big, the gradation from where you're masking and to the clothes is going to look too soft. So you want to still have a kind of a harder edge, but a soft, small, hard edge. So it's soft on the edge, but it's so small that your eye can't see it when you're looking at it from, you know, full view when you're zoomed out. So you can see right there, that's how I do it. And then I just bring up the brush size to get the big areas. So just pay attention to this spot right here. I could show you how to use the pen tool, but that's a whole nother tutorial. But just for quickly, I will show you how to use the pen tool. All right, so click here. Anytime you have an arc like this that starts to curve the other direction, you want to stop right there. And now I'm going to hit there, and I'm going to hit the Alt key, which allows me, oh, hold on, undo that. All right, so I just clicked, and now I can move this around, and you can see the little pen tool moving around on her arm. And in nature, there's usually curved lines. There aren't very many straight lines. And then if you hold the Alt key, it allows you to move this little thing, telling it where you want to go next. So if I wanted to go at a 90-degree angle up, like let's say this was the bend in her elbow, I could do that. But since it's already going in this direction, I don't need to. So then I want to let go of my mouse or your tablet, and then let go of the Alt button. If you let go of Alt first, it's going to kind of get messed up. So then I'm going to click down here, and I'm just adjusting this. And then from there, I'm going to hit the Alt key. I want to kind of go up slightly, right there. So this is the pen tool. It's also can be kind of time consuming, but it's going to look better. All right, Alt key. Right about there. Undo that. So I'm just going to mask this off just so you can kind of see how it would look. Then you get back, once you get all the way around your subject, you're going to connect those dots, right click, and click Make Selection. Feather by 1 pixel is fine. And then I'm going to invert the selection. Select, invert. So now everything outside of her is selected. And if I hit the brush tool and I'm on the layer mask, you could see that was a very quick, sloppy mask. But you can see how when I deselect, that line is very smooth. I missed a spot right here. I would have to go back and touch that up. I cut into her fingers here because I was just trying to show you very quickly how to use the pen tool. I'm just going to leave it like this. I'm not too worried about it. So from there, once I get her cut out and I like the background and I got the foreground and everything's cool, then I'm going to flatten the image. Click Command J to duplicate it because I always like to be able to go back at least one level. And then I'm going to go down to Rad Lab. Boom. And from here, I chose a few different looks. And the thing I like about RadLab is you can kind of see the effect before you apply it. So I'm just going to click on this one. I'm going to take the strength down. I'm just trying to make it look like very surreal in the background. And then every time I edit, I do things differently, so it's never like a set formula that you have to do it, you know. So I clicked on this Lux Hard. I'm going to turn that down just a little bit, and then I'm going to click Finish. Okay, so it's going to render, and again, she would be painted out or cut out a lot better than this, which I did in the final image. And then from there, I'm going to go to Nik Software Color Effects Pro 4. And I'm going to use fog. I've already got it set there because that's the one I used last. You could change the intensity, make it a little less intense. So I want it to be noticeable, but not like super crazy. And I'm really paying attention to this area down here. So now I'm just going to click OK. You can brush it in the plugin, but I find it's easier just to do it in the layer. All right, there's the fog. I'm going to add a layer mask. I'm going to use my brush with a black tool, or black color rather, and then I'm just going to swipe across down here. And then all you have to do is basically paint the subject back in. Basically get the fog off of your subject. Boom, boom, boom. Just like that. And that just adds some dimension, some fogginess down here. And then of course I'm going to change my opacity down to 50%, and then I'm going to paint over the trees that are closest to us so that they look like they're not so foggy and so far away. And again, being random, kind of loose and rough with this looks more natural than being super perfect about it. There we go. And again, this is only at 50%. And if something's distracting, like I say, I don't really like that being so dark, I can always go back and get rid of the layer mask showing through. Get up here. All right, that looks pretty good. Just gonna touch up some of this area. All right, and then that's pretty much it. And then the last thing that I did was I used filter. I'm actually going to click on the image now, flatten the image. Command J, filter, red giant, null light factory. So I'm using the latest version, 2017 Photoshop CC, and red giant says that this software is not compatible, it doesn't work, but as you can see, it's working. So what I did was I installed the older version that had Photoshop CC, but not the 2014, 15, or 16, 17 version. And I copied the plugin files from that folder. Actually, I think I cut them and removed them and put them in the 2017 effects folder in Photoshop. And then I rebooted the computer, Photoshop scanned the plugins folder, and boom, it showed up. So that's pretty much it. So the thing I like about this null light factory is it looks a lot more realistic than the Photoshop light lens flares and stuff like that. So this thing will actually interact with the contrast in your image. So it's currently off of the image where the light is, but if I bring it in here, it sees that, hey, there's something dark obstructing me, and it will kind of hide behind the trees, and the light will flicker and dance between the leaves and stuff like that. So it's kind of neat. Also works in video. I haven't decided which lens flare that I want to use for this image. I'm just kind of playing around right now. So I'm going to bring this off the page. I get this crazy too much orb looking thing. I think it was this one that I ended up using. All right, so I'm just gonna pretend this is the one. I could go through all these and spend hours doing it, so I'm gonna click OK. There's a randomize button. If there's stuff you don't like about the way that it renders it, you can turn it off. You get a little bit of a lens flare down here. So I'm gonna go to the final image. This is basically creating this glow up top from the sun. It was just off the page, so it wasn't impacting the actual sun flare itself. But you see a little bit of flare here in the yukata and down here. And I think in the end, this image turned out really good. I completed my vision. I kind of set out to do this, and I'd never done it before. So I said, you know what, I'm going to try combining infrared with Strobist photography using 3 shots and see how it turns out. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. That's it for today, and I'll catch y'all next time. These remind me of pine needles. I think that's what they're supposed to represent. Maybe behind there like this. And then maybe get a shot like this where you're coming up to the face, and then maybe over so you get the.
Okay. After this is in.
That's cool. Really cool.
Oh, looks good. Okay, let me show you this.
Alright, I'm gonna fix this. There we go.
Okay. So let me get a shot from underneath. Hi, Maki, do you want to say something?
Hi. Every model day.
Let me put a light on her face. Don't look at the light, it's really bright.
Oh, it's like really bright.
I can turn it down.
Oh, that looks good.
Mic check, 1, 2, testing. We are now live in Tokyo, Japan.
I'm shooting some video now. Okay, recording. You want to just say something? I just want to check this sound.
Hey, this is Chris Bergstrom, and we're filming today. We're going to go out with the first shot on the yukata. I'm going to show you some cool techniques that you've never probably seen before, so stay tuned, stick around. Getting detailed shots of these. The things that look Japanese, like kimonos, yukatas, and then all the girl stuff for the hair. It's really cool.
Yeah, looking at this screen here, it's like, wow, it's gorgeous.
Looks good. Looks really good.
ありがとうございました。
ちょっとここ、
うん、
ここ落ちてくるからちょっと取る前にここをかき上げてちょっと、でも上げすぎるとここが浮くんだよね。
That's why I didn't worry about it. I thought you were going to pick her up from off base.
はい。